What's up, fellas? Facebook, welcome to the Sunday Sermon with me, Mike, your mentor. Man, I'm just feeling beat down right now, just worn out. First, man, I got torched in the sun last weekend, and you would think by age 36 I would know to put sunscreen on. But my nose is getting a little better. You can kind of see it there. It looks like I got in a fight with maybe a cat. My lip got a little messed up. And then today, playing ball at the gym, man, it feels like something's constantly in my eye. In the same play, I twisted my ankle, which caused me to bend over at the waist. And as I was bent over at the waist, a guy on my team was chasing his defender, can't see my hands, around the arc. And his guy ran past me, and then he proceeded to run past me. And my neck and my face got caught on the shirt he was wearing, and you can't really see it, but I got bruise on the side of my face, and then you could see it when I kind of blink. My eyes like all beat to crap. So I'm rough, but here I am coming to you with the Sunday sermon, and I think I got an interesting topic for you guys tonight: the self-made man. And I appreciate you guys being with me. If you're watching this replay later, thank you. In a short intro, so this channel is about helping men be the best husbands they can be the best fathers they can be the best men that they can be out in their community and in their places of work. And it's not new that in society there's all these crazy thoughts. In my opinion, there's all these things happening around manhood and what that looks like, and I'm not here to argue that, but what I am here to say is that as men, it's been our fault because we haven't honored this calling on our life the way that we should have, and as a result, families are the way they are, society is the way that it is. We've abused that position that we've been in, that position and that responsibility that we've been granted. And in order for the world to change, we've got to change. And that starts with each one of us looking in the mirror and thinking about how we treat our wives, how we treat our children, how we treat those in society, regardless if they hold the same views as us. And as we do this self-examination, which I'm hoping to help facilitate and provide on this channel, that it'll open up conversations, maybe things that you've never thought of before, and start to unlock things in your mind and in your consciousness that will help you become a better father, a better husband, a better member in society. And I know it's not easy because I had to do a lot of hard work mentally, emotionally, to get to where I am with my manhood. And growing up without a dad, I mean, it's like you're just left to discover all these things for yourself or to try to find these things. And even though they can be found, you cause a lot of damage along the way. And I hurt friends, I hurt my wife, I hurt myself in this process. Would I change it all? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the truth is that until I learned a lot of these things, I didn't know what I didn't know. So I feel like it's my obligation, my duty to start to share these things with other people, because I've been quiet about them for a long, long time. I'm typically a more reserved person unless I get angry or get going, fired up. But I don't want that to happen. I don't want to see I don't want to turn on the news. I don't want to go on Facebook and see that another brother has committed suicide for whatever reason, because he wasn't able to deal with the things that were going on inside of him. A lot of them which are a direct result of not knowing what manhood looks like and to be able to honor that. So enough about that. Let's jump into tonight's topic. I think you'll find interesting. I said that before, but just going to repeat that for you. So enough of my pretty face. All right, here. So, Sunday sermon, week 28, sculpting your identity. And this is a picture I had my wife take of me outside the Gerald R. Ford Museum. And I forget what this, like, if that's supposed to be like a real, obviously it's a person, but so there's this thing where I live in Grand Rapids called Art Prize. All these artists from around the world do all these crazy things, from sculptures to paintings to exhibits, in hopes of winning. I think it's like a $250,000 first place prize. But it's been a big hit in our town, and it's drawn a lot of people into Grand Rapids over the years. But this is one of the entries, and as soon as I saw it, like, that it spoke to me, and God spoke to me. And this represents the mindset that a lot of men in society have today, that somehow, we're self-made, right? That we do it all by ourselves. When in reality, that's very contrary to the way that life works. I don't care who you are. You cannot get through life on your own, trying to do things by yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, there's times when, you're faced with challenges that are just for you, that you have to deal with, things that demons you have to stare in the eyes, hardships that you have to get through, that you have to go through the refiner's fire, right? And through that fire, your character is strengthened and forged and enhanced, both mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So, this prompted this picture. I thought was a good background for tonight's topic. So, think to yourself, true or false. Maybe you want to leave a comment down below. Do you believe that in the world today there are self-made men, or there is a self-made man? And if you believe that, I'd be curious to know why you think that. If you don't believe that, I'd also be curious to know why it is that you think that. I consider myself a pretty open-minded person. I love to hear people's opinions on things. I love to get new angles on things. Maybe there's something they know that I don't, or they're seeing it from a way that I'm not seeing it. And by them exposing me to that, I can become a better person. So if you're brave enough to leave a comment below and your thoughts on that, I'd welcome that discussion with you. So this is a picture of the sculpture of David by Michelangelo, probably one of the world's most famous sculptures. And the interesting thing about this sculpture is Michelangelo did this when he was 26, and I believe it was a challenge. Like, right, someone like bet him to do this or not, and he accepted that challenge, and he worked day and night for 2 straight years to create this masterpiece. And it's truly amazing what man can accomplish when we put our minds to something. So what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Well, we're going to get into that. So Michelangelo said 2 things about sculpting that I think are very interesting. First, he said, every block of stone has a statue inside, and it's the task of the sculptor to discover it. And I think that's a fitting analogy for our lives, right? We're all at these different points in our lives, and at one time we were at some point or another in this process of being sculpted by our world, sculpted by the people that we hang around with, sculpted by the influences that we let into our life in media and music, and all the inputs that we're bringing into our world each and every day are all chiseling these little pieces out of us to help us become who we are. But I love this because at the core, it's our job to discover our potential, to reach our potential. And I'm a firm believer that God has given us all unique gifts and we need to steward those gifts appropriately. And part of that stewardship is to develop those gifts and to work on those. Now, maybe you're like me at one point and you weren't aware of or sure of what your gifts are. So I want to give you a quick exercise that you can do that will put you on the right path to find your gifts. And it's real simple. I want you to email the 5 closest people to you in your life, whether it's parents, friends, brother, sister, co-workers, and ask them, what are you good at? Ask them, what is it that you do better than anyone else they know? And that'll get you started and give you some stuff to think about. And I would say that their answers will hit pretty close to home when speaking about your gifts and what only you can bring to this world. The second thing Michelangelo said is, he said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved it until I set him free." Right? I told you that it took him 2 years of night and day work to create this masterpiece. We're all a work in progress. But the truth is that some of us don't work on ourselves as much as others. And we fall into the trap of then complaining about our circumstances, comparing ourselves to others, and wishing that we had what others had. It's a slippery slope, man. That's a dangerous game to play, and I've been guilty of that at times in my life too. I started this marketing company on the side about 9 months ago, and sometimes I got to remind myself, just slow down. Don't be in such a hurry. This is a process. You're learning, you're growing, you're getting better each and every day. That person that you see that's doing this, they've been doing it a lot longer than you. And plus, you don't know their whole backstory and what they've had to go through to get to where they're at. And yet you think it's fair to compare your story and your journey to theirs? It's not. And that's a constant reminder that I have to tell myself. But it feeds directly into this second comment by Michelangelo, and that's, we got to keep going until we become that finished product. And some would say that doesn't happen until you're dead and gone. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not sure how I really feel about that. But just some interesting thoughts for you. So the next thing, it's good to know that statues are not the beginning of the process. They are the end of a process that took a lot of care, precision, discipline, and time. What's that saying? If you're not growing, you're dying. Right? You should be working at getting better each and every day, at becoming the best person, the best man, the best woman that you can be each and every day. Don't set yourself up by failure, in my opinion, by making that some huge lofty goal each and every single day. I'm a firm believer in the basics, right? Chop wood and carry water every single day. Do those little fundamental disciplines that can move you closer and closer to your goal or to whatever it is that you've set out to accomplish. So this is a picture of King Solomon, who is regarded as the richest and the wisest man ever to live. I think I saw an infographic that said his net worth in today's dollars would be something like $100 trillion. It's just ridiculous. And he said the power of life and death are in the tongue. And I can't tell you how true that is. And I don't know if you ever think about that, because in today's world, our words have become extremely casual. They don't carry the weight that, some of them don't carry the weight that they used to. and some of them carry far more weight than they should. So I'll give you an example. Right, the word love, and there's different kinds of love. You can look those up. Eros, which is I can't remember. My brain's going. But there's different kinds of love. Just check that out. But I bring that example up is because the Greeks had these different meanings for the word love. For example, in America here, we make love this all-encompassing thing, right? We've diluted it. We say, I love pizza, I love puppies, I love ice cream, right? That stuff's easy to love. In my opinion, that's not real love. Real love are the things that are hard to love, right? Maybe your wife's angry at you. Maybe she says she's not attracted to you anymore for whatever reason. My opinion of love is still engaging with her, is still trying to do everything that you can to save your marriage, is to still wake up and fight every single day for that relationship and that covenant that you made, right? I believe that love is found in those hard things, right? Love is found in forgiveness of someone who's done so wrong to you that maybe in your heart you'd rather, but maybe you'd rather just kill them or see them dead, or you just hate them so much. But I quickly digress. So what I want to talk about now when it comes to the power of life and death being in the tongue is, one, what others say about you. What words are you consuming in your everyday activities as you live your life? What words do you consume from other people? What words do you consume from music, from TV, from books, from podcasts? Because all these things are bombarding your mind, and if you're not careful about what you're consuming, you're letting those words shape your identity and contribute to that sculpture that's being built. The second question I want to pose to you is, whose opinion matters? Really? Whose opinion matters in your life? Who have you given influence to in your life? Maybe there's some people in your life right now who their opinion is everything to you, and it should be nothing to you. Maybe there's some friends in your life who you hang on every single word that they say, and when they don't agree with you, you're crushed, or you don't know how to function, or you don't know what to do with yourself. So these questions are made to have you really consider and really think about these influences in your life, because all words carry weight, and no words return void. Say that again. All words carry weight, and no words return void. In the Bible, 1 Corinthians 15:33, it speaks about this. It says, bad company corrupts good character. Right? If you're around people that aren't doing good things, that's going to wash off on you. If you're around people who don't have the same goals as you, don't have the same ambitions as you, aren't trying to get to the same place in life as you, whatever that looks like for your life, those people are going to have an effect on you, an effect on what you say, an effect on what you think, obviously an effect on what you do and don't do. Maybe you've heard this before, and this isn't some secret, but what this is a reminder, because we have enough going on in our everyday lives that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to these things. We don't stop for a minute and really think about these things and the weight that these things hold. So I want to talk to you about this. That's funny. I just said hold about this thing called hold, and this is something that I learned on one of the men's retreats that I had the pleasure of staffing. And it goes back to words, right? And a lot of times when we're in conversations with people, uh, one, we're not listening. We're thinking about, and I'm guilty of this too. We're thinking about what we're gonna say as a response rather than really listening to what they're saying. And this was a really profound thing for me when I heard it, and I hope that it is profound for you as well. Um, my eyes twitching like crazy, trying to think here. So the whole, right? So God will give you words for people. He'll bring thoughts to your mind in whatever situation that you're in, and hold goes kind of like this: the right words at the wrong time bring about the wrong effect. Say that again. The right words at the wrong time bring about the wrong effect. But the right words at the right time bring about the right effect. Right? You may get something for somebody. You may be listening to what somebody says, and immediately you know the answer, right? You know what would, in essence, set them free from whatever problem or whatever thing they're dealing with. And what happens is a lot of time we want to just rush in, and it comes from the right place in our hearts, but we want to rush in and we want to share that with this person and we want to help that person. But at times that can do damage because they might not be in the right place in their life where they're ready to hear that. And if you're a parent, you'll relate to this real simple example. You can tell your kids all the time what to do or what not to do, and it seems like it falls on deaf ears. And then as soon as somebody who's not in your family or not you comes along and tells that person or your child the exact same thing, they're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then they do it. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking too. That happens a lot in your relationship with your wife and vice versa, right? I mean, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying like there's something there. Why do we give so much stock to what someone else says versus what those closest to us are saying when they can be the exact same thing? I don't know if I have an answer. It just seems like the way that it works. So remember that the wrong words or the right words at the wrong time bring about the wrong result. But the right words at the right time bring about the right result. So I got one more slide for you guys, and then we'll get out of here. Oh, one more bullet point here. Ask yourself, do you have a group of people who can speak life into you that you're surrounded with each and every day? Because it's extremely important. And a lot of people really don't give any thought to this until after they've been through some life, or not at either while they're going through or after they've been through some life-altering situation, like a death or a bad accident or whatever that looks like. I want to suggest to you that you want to think about these things before you find yourself in one of those life circumstances, because it's not a matter of if something in life is going to throw you a curveball. It's just a matter of when. And if you can prepare yourself properly and think about these things and set up these relationships and have this group of people who can speak life into you, when that craziness hits your life, you're going to be so much more prepared to weather that storm than you would otherwise. Oh, I guess I got one more thing. The father exercise. Okay. So as men, right, we place a lot of importance on on the role that our fathers have in our lives, whether they were there actively or whether they weren't, whether they were there emotionally and mentally or whether they weren't. It's no secret that fathers have a big influence in our lives, and as fathers, we have a big influence in our kids' lives. So, some of you guys, I would suggest this really for anybody, but this can be a real powerful exercise because what our fathers say about us probably carries the most weight in our lives out of any other relationship that we have. And the father exercise goes like this. So you want to get a sheet of paper out and you want to get alone, right? No distractions. Leave your phone alone. Don't even bring your phone with you. Get out of whatever environment that you're in. You know, go to the park. I don't know, go out in the woods. Go to the library. Someplace where you can be alone. Take that sheet of paper and ask God to speak to you. And then start to write on this piece of paper. And on the front side, you're going to write as if your father was speaking to you. And just write. And see what comes out. And then on the other side of that piece of paper, you're going to write out what you've always wished you could have said to your father, or that you maybe didn't get the chance to say because he's no longer alive, or you've never, I don't know, had the courage, or you've never had the opportunity, or whatever it is that's held you back. Maybe it wasn't the right time that you need to say to your father. And if you're courageous enough to do this exercise, I can't begin to explain to you the amount of freedom that you're going to experience as you're able to download these words to you, your father to you, and offload these words from you to your father, right? And I'm a big believer in praying and asking God to just show me the way. It's really that simple. Nothing long, nothing elaborate, and then just going into it and trusting the process. So, I don't know. God wanted me to share that with you, so there it is. All right, last slide. We'll get out of here tonight. So, second thing is so we looked at what you're feeding yourself and what you're saying to yourself. Now we looked at what others are saying about you and what influences you're taking in. Now I want to look at what you say about yourself, because this is far more important than what others are saying about you. So the first question I have for you to think about is, where do you get the truth about yourself? Where does that come from? Does that come from your parents? Does that come from your friends? Does that come from the media? Does it come from your work? Does it come from how much money you have? Does it come from how big a house you live in? What type of car you drive? You know, where do you get the truth about yourself and who you are? I want to propose to you what the Bible says in Romans 10:17, and that's faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. And I believe that the truth about ourselves as people, as humans, as children, God's children, comes from God, directly from Himself. And if we'll take the time to get in His Word and actually listen to what He has to say about us, that not only will we experience greater freedom, but with this truth, we'll be able to walk in those giftings that I mentioned at the beginning, and we'll be able to effectively help more people and have better relationships. So the next thing is, what are you telling yourself every day? right? Like what? Every day you have a choice to either agree with the truth or agree with the lie. Now, what does that look like? Well, for some people, they choose to agree with the lie. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't look a certain way, or I don't weigh a certain amount, or I don't have these clothes, or they sit in their shame and their hurt, and they say things like, "This person should have never did this," or they say things like, "If only I could ever blank blank blank," you know. We're at times our own worst enemy, and we have to be more conscious than ever, especially in today's world, about what we're telling ourselves. And what we tell ourselves is the direct result of the importance that we place on other people's opinions and what they say, and it's a direct result of the sources that we're going to each and every day to hear those different words that I talked about on the last slide. You know, the music you're listening to, the things you're watching on TV, the books you're reading, the podcasts you're listening to, what you're feeding yourself each and every day. This if you think of a funnel, all that stuff is going into the funnel, and then it's going down and out of the funnel is what you tell yourself every day. You're at the bottom with your mouth wide open, and all this stuff is just pouring into the funnel, and you're consuming it. Unless you're diligent in thinking about those things. Alright, so that's it for tonight. Next week I'm going to talk about the manifesto exercise. I think you guys will find that intriguing as well. And what that is, it's just it's going to be some practical things that you can do to help yourself with these challenges, right? About what you say about yourself, about the truth about yourself, and you know, what we can learn from others. So before I leave, I'll share this one last story that I find extremely intriguing. So some people are under the impression, well, if I can't be honest about myself, right? Like, are you telling me to just ignore reality? No, I'm not telling you to ignore reality. In fact, I'm telling you to embrace it, because only when you are honest about whatever situation you find yourself in, until that point, you won't be able to move forward. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you beat yourself up over the head with it each and every day and assign failure, assign shame and doubt to that. So I think this last story illustrates this well. So back in the early 70s, there was a number of POWs that were in this camp in Vietnam for a very long time. And each day, some of them would wake up and be like, today is the day we're going to get rescued. Today's the day we're going to get out of here. And then no one would come. And they would go to bed defeated. And then they would wake up the next day again. This is the day we're getting out of here. I know it. We're being rescued today. Someone's going to come save us. And at the end of the day, the same thing. No one came. And this pattern would repeat itself over and over and over and over the enormous amount of days that they were POWs. And finally, when they were rescued, they interviewed the colonel. And he was one of the last few survivors of this POW camp. And they asked him, how were you able to survive when so many others weren't? And his answer was very profound. And he said, the majority of men that were in this POW camp were optimists, and every day they'd wake up and they'd say, today's the day we're getting rescued. And then it wouldn't happen, and they'd be deflated, and they'd go to bed. And then they'd wake up to do that all over again. And then he said, I'm an optimist, but at the same time, I'm a realist. And so from the very beginning, I had to face the reality that what is my life going to look like if we're never rescued? And I had to come to grips with that. And the sooner that I was able to come to grips with that and the other surviving POWs, the easier it became for us to survive. So what do you need to come to grips with when it comes to your reality? And then what can you encourage yourself each and every day to do to help change that reality and get you to whatever place it is that you want to get to? So I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. That's it for tonight's Sunday sermon. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm here for you. I love you, and we'll see you tomorrow for My Life One Day. Have a good night.